Hi everyone, my name is Carlos. I'm a web developer from New York, and today we're going to work on a project called Davie's Burger Subway ad from the Learn SQL from Scratch course. Now, in order to complete this project, you should be familiar with certain SQL queries. We're going to be working with some queries that have the keywords with select, from, where, distinct, limit, amongst others. And I'm going to try to go in depth and explain how these keywords work and certain things we can find in this project. We're also actually going to work with real data, so you'll be able to see how we actually can extract information from a database. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight into the project. Okay, so let's go ahead and read the instructions here. Do you remember Davie's Burger from our Learn CSS course? Well, the restaurant business has been booming, and it is now looking to place a catchy advertisement in the local subway station. Help them dig into their orders table to see if there's anything interesting in there for a funny tagline. We have basically a SQL kind of looking text editor here, and we have an interface that will display our queries here on the right. You can also see the schema and the database design here. This is basically how the table is structured. So we have the title of our table here, which is orders. We have the number of rows, 280 rows, and we have the column names here and the data type for each column name. So we have 1, 2, 3, 6, around 6 columns, and each column will expect a certain data type for whenever data is inputted into them. So for an ID, we have an integer. For a date, we have a specific date type. And for item name, we have a text, and so on for the rest of the columns. So let's go ahead and jump straight into the first step here. I have it already checked, but let's see what they are asking for. So start by getting the feel for the orders table. We're going to grab and copy paste this query here. Just paste it on your editor, indent this. And just so you know, SQL is actually case insensitive. This would still work if you type it in lowercase, but it's good practice to keep the same syntax. So I'm going to stick to uppercase. But it shouldn't be a problem if you accidentally forget to switch from lower to uppercase. It wouldn't really make a difference. The only difference it might make is the name of the tables you're working with. So let's go ahead and save and then run this. And we see our results here. Now, we just grabbed basically everything, which is how the asterisks work, from the name of the table that we're working with, which is called orders, and we limited the amount of rows that we wanted to display to 10 rows. So once we have data in a database, it's very important to be able to slice it and grab information and manipulate it in many ways you want. And one of the most basic clauses that SQL provides is the select from clause. This is a way to actually grab data from specific columns, from specific tables, and do certain things with that. Now for the select from clause, it only has two parts in it. The first one is we're gonna have to be specific as to what columns we want to return and what table or tables those columns came from. So here we're using an asterisk, which asterisk means we're grabbing everything from the table named orders, and we're limiting it to 10 rows. Now also pay close attention to the semicolon here. It's kind of sensitive to this, so if we type the semicolon before we actually end the query, it won't limit it, it won't get to this part, and will display all the rows we have here. So make sure you put the semicolon at the end of your query and not before you finish it. Okay, so let's check off step 1 and let's continue to step 2. Save this. Okay, so how recent is this data? Use distinct to find out all the unique order date values in this table. So remember, we're working with a restaurant. A restaurant will have multiple orders every day. So we want to grab this column here called order date and see the dates that orders were placed. But if we're just working with order dates, it doesn't make sense to have duplicates in that information. So in order to grab unique values from that column, we can use the keyword distinct. Now distinct will come right before we specify the column name and right after we type select. So let's go ahead and type that out. So we're selecting distinct values from what table? It's called order date. We're grabbing it from the table name orders. Go ahead and run that and you should see both tables displayed here. Okay, perfect. Now we see all the dates. displayed right here. That's the query we need. Perfect. So one more thing, since we're working with dates, it just makes sense to actually be able to sort these dates. There's not other information that we need, and it would be nice to actually have the dates being sorted somehow, either to descending or ascending order. We can do that easily by typing in a query a clause that we call order by, and then specify what we're going to order by and in what way. So we're going to organize our order dates, order date, and let's just do it descending and run that query again. Okay, so you'll see now that our dates are ordered descending from the latest date, June 30th, all the way down to May 3rd. And we have all unique values here, so no dates are repeated. Perfect. So let's move on to step number 3. And I'm actually going to comment this query out so we're not clogging our interface with hundreds of lines of information here. You can do that by typing a slash and asterisk before the query, and make sure you do close that comment with an asterisk and a forward slash. Okay, so for step 3, the special instructions column stores the data where Davie's Burgers customers leave a note for the kitchen or the delivery. Instead of selecting all the columns using asterisk, write a query that selects only the special instructions column. Limit the results to 20 rows. Okay, so we already used the first query is where we grabbed all the columns from that table orders. So now they're specifying that they want us to grab the special instructions column right over here. So we can do that by basically typing something similar to their first query. We're going to select, and what's the name of the column we're selecting? It's called special instructions. Now if you've ordered from Seamless, when you place an order, you can leave a special instruction to a delivery driver. That's basically the same thing we're writing here. Okay, where are we ordering? Where are we selecting this column from? We're selecting it from the table called orders, and we want to limit the results to 20. Perfect. Go ahead and save that. And here we go. We have 20 rows of all the orders that from the special instructions column. Perfect. Okay, let's move on to step 4. And once again, I'm going to be commenting these out. I'm leaving them for you guys to see, but I'll be commenting them out just so you have more space to visualize the data. Forward slash asterisk. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to grab one commenting line. There we go. Okay, for step 4, there seems to be a lot of empty values in that column. That is because customers sometimes leave those notes section blank. Can you edit the queries so that we're only returning the special instructions that are not empty? Okay, perfect. So let's grab our previous query, which is selecting the special instructions. Let's grab that first. And what are we trying to do here? We're trying to select the columns that are not empty. So you see this 0 with a cross here. These are essentially null values, meaning nothing was input in them. So what we're trying to do here is basically filter the results and select the rows that are not null. Now we can do that with a clause called where, which is used to filter records. So we can do that by putting it after we actually grabbed our data from the table. So we don't need to limit at the moment. So let's add our where clause here. Let's start by saying where. And now what we're trying to do is grab the special instructions and select the ones that are not null. Or special instructions. And now what comes after this? We're trying to filter out all the not null values or rows. So fortunately, SQL sometimes provides very useful and readable queries. So there's one condition here we can add that is called is not null. And we can just simply add that to the end of the line. You can see how its keyword is being highlighted here too. So go ahead and run this. And I'm getting an error here, and that's because I didn't add the semicolon here at the end of our query call. So go ahead and save that, and boom, here we go. We have all the rows that had text inputted in the special column when they placed an order. Perfect. Okay, so let's move on to step number 5. And I'm going to go ahead and comment this line out as well. Okay, let's go even further and sort the instructions in alphabetical order. Interesting. We're going to need that query again. So we can simply grab this query we grabbed here and add the order by clause at the end of it. Now, order by is by default ordering ascending, I believe, and it will take into account the alphabetical order. So all we need to add here is order by the column we want to order. And that's it. We can just save this and run it again. And we have it sorted alphabetically. Sometimes when it's not alphabetically, you'd have to actually pass in how you want to sort them. In this case, it's by default ordering ascending. Okay, so that's it for step 5. Let's move on forward. Let's comment this out as well. Okay. So for step 6, now we have a good idea of the list. Let's search for special instructions that have the word sauce in them. So for each of these data points here, we have text, and some of these texts actually have the keyword sauce. I'm trying to find one that has sauce written on it. Can't see them specifically. So we want to filter all of this with special instructions that contain the keyword sauce. Now SQL provides an operator that's called like, and the like operator is used in a where clause to search for a specified pattern or type of string or something in a column. Now there's two types of wildcards that we can use with the like operator. There's a % sign and there's an underscore sign, which represents a single character. So right now we're going to be using the % sign. You'll see how that works. So first let's get our special instructions. Let's grab our special instructions column from our orders table. And here is where we want to filter out only special instructions that contain the word sauce. So here we can type in the column again, special instructions. This is what we're going to be filtering, and the keyword will go after we grab the where clause to it. So like, and here we pass in what we want. So we can type sauce, but that would actually only look for specific rows that equal this query here. We can use a % sign, like I said, and that will look for values that have the specific order of what we're writing. So if you write like sauce and add a % sign at the end, it finds any values that start with sauce and whatever comes afterwards. Anything can be afterwards. If we have it before sauce, it will look for any values that end with sauce here. So we do not want that end or start with sauce. We just want one that has sauce somewhere in their special instructions. So this should all filter out to our specific rows that we're looking for that has sauce in them. Make sure you add the semicolon there and then run this. And you'll see here at the top, we have basically only 3 orders, so that's why it was a little hard to find that have sauce in their special instructions. Perfect, so that's it for step 6. Let's go on to step 7. Now we want to search for special instructions that have the word door in them. So I'm not going to make a new query because this is basically the same query we're doing. We're selecting from the special instructions column, we're grabbing it from the orders table, and we're filtering the results where we're actually finding specific string in that. So we're going to find rows that contain door in their special instructions column. Go ahead and run this. And here we go. We have ring doorbell, door code, code academy, super hungover, let yourself in, pass the fridge, turn left, and double rooms into a pajama, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. That's it for step 7. Let's go on for step 8. Now, you know, they say repetition is the key to learning, so we're going to do the same thing for step 8, except we're going to look for special instructions that have the word box in them. So let's go ahead and replace door with box and run the query. And here we go. We have amusing instructions for the delivery that have door in them. Perfect. Okay. Step number 9, and we're almost done here. So our select clause can select a column, but it's not limited to selecting one column. We can actually pass in multiple columns. We had 6 columns in the orders table, so we can grab up to 6 of them. So in step 9, they want us to not only grab the special instructions, they want to see what order the special instructions belong to. So we can go ahead and select the ID column. We can go ahead and run that. And we have our IDs right over here next to our special instructions. Now let's look again once more at our table itself, where we have all the columns listed. Now you see our IDs right over here, and you see our user ID. So we can see what order each of these special instructions is attached to. So we have an ID of 15 for the special instruction that contains the following text. If you wanted to grab another column, for example, let's say we wanted to see the item name, we could simply pass it in the select clause as well, and we can see it listed as well. It's a little hard to see here, but it would be displayed on the table here. Okay. Now we want to rename the column name ID as pound and the special instructions column as notes. So we can do that with the as keyword here. We can specify what we want it as. So special instructions will be notes. And we want ID to be displayed as pound sign or number sign. You can go ahead and run that again. And you'll see how this was relabeled into what we passed in here. You can put this whatever you like, whatever string you like, and it will be displayed here as whatever you wrote in. So that's it for step number 9. And that concludes our project here. Now we saw how several queries work. Now you're not limited to only these queries. There's a bunch of things you can do with SQL. There's numerous clauses and keywords and constraints you can work with. You can actually combine select statements with each other, and we're going to work on aggregate functions later on. But this table has about 280 rows. Feel free to actually explore and mess around with all the data here. We have the table displayed here, so you already know the column names, and you have the database here. There's 280 rows. So feel free to mess around, maybe select multiple columns and kind of manage what you see. Maybe you can sort the user IDs and display their item names, or grab the special instructions and figure out how many of them are not null. There's a bunch of queries you can learn. I would recommend also to go into the other articles that Code Academy provides for SQL, and there must be a cheat sheet that we can actually look at and quick reference for all these keywords. So that concludes our project for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.